St. Augustine is a destination in Florida unlike most other Florida cities. This city is most famous for being considered the first continuously inhabited European settlement in the United States and predates the establishment of Jamestown, Virginia by more than 40 years. The city is teeming with history and character, and around every corner is something to explore. It is one of the most, if not the most, pedestrian-friendly cities in Florida and offers the visitor a unique experience blending historical charm and that tropical and laid-back vibe that the state of Florida is so famous for. So join us on an amazing adventure exploring the best things to do and see in this amazingly beautiful, charming, and historic North Florida city.
Welcome to beautiful and historic St. Augustine, Florida. So we today are in the oldest city in the United States. Yes, the oldest city in the United States. A lot of people think it's Jamestown in Virginia or Plymouth in Massachusetts, but no, this is the first town and first settlement in the United States. It actually predates Jamestown by more than 40 years. So the reason people often think that Jamestown is the oldest is because it was the British colony of Jamestown, right? But now Florida was a colony of Spain. So this was part of Spanish Florida, right? So the city was established in the late 16th century, right? And it really maintains an amazing historical charm. So what we're going to do on this tour is I'm going to show you the best things to see in historic St. Augustine, right? Now, the first thing I think you should see is Oak Canopy, which is where I am now. So this is along Magnolia Avenue, and we're in the northern section of St. Augustine. So in this tour, we're going to kind of go from north to south. So definitely check this out when you're here. It's just a beautiful street filled with these amazing live oaks. The street is hugged by centuries-old live oaks and is one of the most Instagrammable locations in St. Augustine. Wander underneath this collection of impressive foliage and snap a picture to remember the area's natural beauty. Okay, the next place you have to check out is Old Town St. Augustine. So it's basically like a complex, right? And within it, it's kind of touristy, but there's a lot of old stores and, you can get like old-fashioned things. And there's two museums within here. There's the Old Jail Museum and the St. Augustine History Museum. And we're gonna take a look at the St. Augustine History Museum. But it's pretty cool. You go walk around, they kind of have like old town stores and, souvenirs. But one thing I definitely recommend doing while you're here is you see this booth behind me? So here you can get discount tickets to all the attractions in St. Augustine. So we're going to go to a lot of the attractions that they offer here on this tour, but I definitely recommend coming here first, getting the tickets ahead of time. You can use them for any day, and you get like 15 or 20% off. So that's a little trick. So check that out when you're here.
The St. Augustine History Museum is an excellent place to begin your journey of this fascinating city. Here you can learn about the origins of the city and how and why it was chosen as the first permanent settlement in the continental United States. The museum has exhibits on Spanish, Native American, pirate, and 19th and 20th century migrations to the area. I recommend first visiting this museum to get better acquainted with the things you're about to see.
The next thing you need to see is Ponce de Leon's Fountain of Youth Archaeological Park. So that's right behind me. Now, after the Oak Canopy and after the Old Town area where the History Museum is, this is just a block walk down, so it's really close. And what you do here is you could actually drink from the famous Ponce de Leon Fountain of Youth. So it was believed that it would give you eternal youth. And the park really commemorates the explorer Ponce de Leon and his contribution here in Florida and really in the Americas. Columbus gets a lot of the credit, but Ponce de Leon actually started the first discovery here in North America, not on the islands like Columbus did. And when you're in here, you learn about his discoveries, and you see kind of a Native American village here. So it's really something to see. So make sure you check that out when you're here.
Ponce de Leon's Fountain of Youth Archaeological Park is the home of the famous mythical Fountain of Youth. Legend has it that this fountain restores and promotes youth to anyone who drinks from or bathes in its waters. According to the legends, this is the place where Ponce de Leon discovered this famed water source. In the park, you can drink from the fountain and hopefully restore and extend your youth. Be warned, however, the water has a heavy mineral taste. Maybe that means it's working. Also, in the park, you are greeted with living history exhibits as well as a recreation of a local Native American Indian settlement.
So I would recommend coming to Ponce de Leon's Fountain of Youth Archaeological Park in the morning if you can, because you know we are in Florida. It always is very hot. It's a large grounds, so if you come in the morning, you're gonna beat the heat a bit. Also, one thing to note is this is a living history museum, as you noticed, right? So there are presentations all day. So each presentation lasts like 10 to 15 minutes, and it teaches you a little bit about each specific part of living in a Spanish colony here in St. Augustine.
As you continue through the park, check out the impressive statue of Ponce de Leon, the famous explorer who is often overlooked by Columbus. Columbus discovered the New World, yes, but he actually did not discover the continental United States. This achievement actually goes to Ponce de Leon, and St. Augustine is one of the original landing places. Take a look into a recreation of the original mission church founded by early Spanish Catholics in the Spanish colony of Florida. This archaeologically accurate recreation depicts how simple these early mission churches were.
So the next place that you have to check out when you're here in St. Augustine is Mission de Nombre de Dios, which means mission in the name of our Lord. So what this is the first Catholic mission here in the United States. So it has become a place of pilgrimage for thousands of Catholics every year, and it's also a cemetery. If you're interested in the Spanish Catholic missions, also check out our San Antonio video, which goes all into the San Antonio missions. When you're here though, in particular, you have to visit Our Lady of La Leche Chapel, which is behind me. This is one of the oldest chapels in the United States, and it really is a very important piece of Spanish Florida.
Mission Nombre de Dios is the oldest Catholic mission in the United States and was founded in 1565. It serves as a pilgrimage for thousands of Catholics every year and served as the center of some of the first Catholic conversions of the Native American population in what would become the United States. The grounds are serene, meditative, and beautiful. The Shrine of Our Lady of Leche is considered the oldest Catholic shrine in the continental United States and has grown a reputation for being a pilgrimage site for blessings for successful pregnancy and delivery. The Great Cross was dedicated in 1966 to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the founding of Mission Nombre de Dios. The cross is made of stainless steel and towers an impressive 208 feet above St. Augustine. The cross is moving and can be seen for miles as you approach this centuries-old Spanish Catholic mission.
Okay, the next thing you have to check out is historic downtown St. Augustine, also known as the Colonial Quarter. So behind me, see these gates here? This is the entrance to the original colony of St. Augustine, and these are the remains of the gates. So you go through here, and there's just tons of historic buildings. It's interesting because it's kind of become a big tourist spot, so you're gonna see lots of candy stores, bars, restaurants, tours, little kind of museums, things like that. So it is a little bit touristy, so some people may not like that, but the historic buildings are intact, and it's just an interesting place to have dinner, to take a walk. It's always bumping. It's in the evening now, and it just rained, but there's still a lot of people here. So definitely check this out. This is pretty much the highlight of St. Augustine. Downtown St. Augustine, the Colonial Quarter, the Old City, or the Historic District, this area is known as many names, is a lively and entertaining pedestrian-friendly mecca. The area's main corridor is St. George Street, which is completely pedestrianized and offers you an amazing area to dine, shop, or simply just stroll through with your family and friends. As you walk these centuries-old corridors, you can't help but marvel at the historic structure surrounding you. What I find so interesting about the Historic District is that everything is used. It isn't just a collection of stuffy museums, but rather a collection or real and utilized historic structures. You can have dinner, grab a couple of drinks, shop, or get an ice cream in a 300-year-old structure. The history quite literally surrounds you in a beautifully alive setting. One place that you have to check out when you're in the Colonial Quarter is the Colonial Oak Music Park. So the Colonial Oak is the largest oak tree in St. Augustine. What's so great about it? It's just this amazingly, beautifully big, centuries-old oak tree, and it's surrounded by kind of like a small, intimate park where they have live music, and it's free. So definitely check that out when you're here. When we're here, they're not doing music now, but they will be later. So there's already people starting to kind of gather here. So check that out when you're here. Continue your history exploration at the oldest wooden schoolhouse in America. The construction date is not fully known, but it first appears on the tax record as early as 1716. Many believe it is much older though. Step back in time and compare the design of this early place of education with your elementary school. The inside is comically recreated with life-size statues helping you to visualize how the school would have looked over 300 years ago. The classroom was one of the first in the United States to be co-ed and educated boys and girls since 1788. Now, when you're here in the Colonial Quarter, the main walkway is St. George Street. So that is a pedestrian-only walkway, and that's kind of the main thing. So that's where the main stores are, the main bars, the main restaurants, the main sites. But it's a huge district. So I really encourage you to not just stick on St. George Street and just go on some of the other little alleyways, and you'll find a lot of cool hidden gems. So check those out when you're here. Don't just stick to the main strip. Since we're on the whole Spanish theme, and I'm guessing that you're probably wondering if there's somewhere to get good Spanish food. Well, I recommend checking out Colombia Restaurant. So it's been here since 1905, and it has great Spanish style food. It kind of blends the Central American with the Spain food, but you have tapas, tons of good desserts, and paella you can get, just tons of good Spanish food. So definitely check that out if you're here and you're looking to get some authentic Spanish food. It does get very crowded, especially on the weekend, so I recommend you make reservations pretty well in advance.
Colombia Restaurant is a great place to dine right on St. George Street if you're looking for some authentic Spanish and Latin style food. The restaurant is almost 120 years old and maintains an attractive Spain-like interior that sets the mood for your entire dining experience.
An absolute must-see and must-do when you're in St. Augustine is the Castillo de San Marcos, which is behind me. Now, this is the oldest fort in the continental United States, and you got to think about the history, right? So this part of America at the time was under Spanish rule, right? And it fought often with the English colonies not too far to the north in Georgia and further north, right? So defenses were high, right? So they had to have somewhere to protect the area surrounding here. So when we're gonna go in there, you're gonna see that military design, right? You're gonna see holes where you can shoot out of. You're gonna see a moat. You're gonna see a very old-fashioned gate. I mean, it almost looks like medieval, like you're in Europe. So it's pretty cool. It's something that you definitely have to see. And what's amazing about it is you have these walls that are actually built with shells. We're gonna take a look closer into that later. So I suggest you come in the morning. It is a castle. It is built out of all stone. So, you know, if you come in the afternoon in Florida, you're gonna be really hot. I came right when it opened at 9 a.m. Definitely use that tip. So let's head in.
The Castillo de San Marcos is the oldest masonry fort in the continental United States. The construction of the fort began in 1672, more than 100 years after the founding of St. Augustine in response to an English attack from the north in 1688. The fort served to protect the Spanish colony of St. Augustine from foreign invaders, mostly the English, who occupied the Carolinas just to the north of the Spanish territory of Florida. The fort has a long history where it was first occupied by the Spanish who built it, then the English, then back to the Spanish, then to English again, and eventually to what would become the United States of America. Both the English and Spanish maintained a bitter rivalry because both claimed territories in the New World, and being so close to the border, St. Augustine was prone to attack. The walls, like many buildings in the city, are built with a unique building material known as coquina stone, which is a blend of seashells, mortar, and stone. The top of the Castillo affords the viewer excellent views of the city and helps you to understand how the fort was designed to provide protection to the Spanish colony.
Have you ever wondered where the first Catholic church in the United States was? Well, it was here. This is the Cathedral Basilica of St. Augustine. So, though not this actual building, there was some damage to the previous church and it was restored and upgraded throughout the years. But on this site is the site of the original and first Catholic Church in the United States. So that was in the 1560s, and the site remains a Catholic parish up until today. It's extremely beautiful. It has some enormously ornate stained glass windows, and it has beautiful canvases on the ceiling. It really is something to see when you're here. And it's free to go in, and if you're Catholic or whatever, you can go in there and pray. So it's pretty cool to see when you're here.
The Cathedral Basilica of St. Augustine is the site of the first Catholic congregation in the present-day United States. A simple church was founded by the early Spanish settlers in 1565, then over the decades an improved church was constructed. When the territory was lost to the English, a state of disrepair ensued. When the Spanish retook Florida, this improved church was constructed on the site in the late 18th century.
Okay, the next thing you have to see when you're here in St. Augustine is Plaza de la Constitucion. So that is the park behind me, and what it's famous for is being the first public space in America, right? So this is basically the first park. It was established in 1573 by the Spanish. So definitely take a look at this. It's very interesting, it's very historic, and it's a beautiful park. Just go walk around, there's beautiful trees, nice pathways, and it's right below the main commercial strip on St. George Street.
The Plaza de la Constitucion is the oldest public space in the continental United States, founded in the late 1500s. The plaza was used as a place of trade and recreation and is utilized for the same purposes even until today. The plaza earned its current name from the obelisk at the center that was erected to celebrate the Spanish Constitution of 1812.
So the next spot that you have to check out here in St. Augustine is Aviles Street, which is right behind me. So if you go a little south of St. George Street, there's another corridor. It's a little more low-key, a little less commercial, and there's lots of cool restaurants and interesting things to see. So definitely take a walk a little south of the St. George Street, and it's right past the Plaza de la Constitucion, and then you'll be right there.
Aviles Street, located just south of the main tourism area, is a low-key street filled with attractive restaurants, shops, cafes, and bars. As you travel down Aviles Street, you will be impressed by the additional historic architecture, most of which dates back to the 1700s. These properties are occupied to this day with area residents. There are some smaller museums along this corridor, and the surrounding area provides the architecture historian with a wealth of intact buildings and European-like corridors to walk through. It is quieter and more intimate down here, but still offers the same impressive sights.
Now, once you get out of the main commercial corridor, you're going to see more of the residential parts of St. Augustine, right? So it's going to get much more quiet, much less touristy, right? And you're going to see tons of historic architecture. I mean, this is one of the largest historic districts in the United States and some of the oldest buildings in the United States. So history buffs are going to love it. So make sure you kind of wander off the beaten path a little bit when you're in St. Augustine. Now, the next thing that you have to see here in St. Augustine is the Lightner Museum, which is behind me. So this is an old hotel from the early 19th century. It has beautiful architecture and amazing grounds. People get married here a lot. Actually, when we're here, there are people getting married, so look out for that. And what it displays is amazing pieces of furniture and artifacts and art from the Gilded and Victorian eras. So there's a lot of cool stuff to see in here. And you can go through the museum in as quick as a half hour, and if you really look at everything, up to 2 hours. But it's definitely something to see.
The Lightner Museum is housed in a historic structure that used to be a hotel. The museum's architecture and impressive grounds alone offer a reason to visit this historic site. The museum is popular with weddings as its elegant vibe makes for impressive photos. The museum exhibits several artifacts, pieces of furniture, and art from the Gilded and Victorian eras. If you are interested in interior design or antiques, you will love this museum's collection. The museum houses furniture owned by Napoleon Bonaparte's brother and even the Egyptian mummy of a 5-year-old. Browse the museum's impressive collection and be inspired by the craft invested into these unique items.
Okay guys, that was St. Augustine. As you can see, there is a tremendous amount to see and do here. I had an amazing time showing you guys America's oldest city. If you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe, like this video, share this video, leave me your comments below, let me know what I didn't see and your recommendations for when you're here in St. Augustine. Also, we also have a St. Augustine off the beaten path video, so check that out as well. So that goes, you know, within 30 minutes or so of this area, and there's tons of fantastic more things to see, so check that out as well, guys. Okay, until next time, take care.